Welcome to Boss Up, Goddess. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I interview trailblazing women who share their wisdom to help us all live bigger, better, and bolder. With me tonight is a woman who's doing exactly that. Her name is Micah Materre, and she's an Emmy Award-winning journalist and anchor at the WGN Evening News in Chicago. She does the 5 and the 6, and then the WGN News at 10 and 9 and 10 in the evening. So she does 4 news shows in one evening. She also reports and co-produces a bi-weekly segment called Chicago's Very Own. And she hosts WGN's public affairs program, People to People. Micah has covered stories that included the historic inauguration of America's first Black president, along with entertainment news and special reports that include special assignment reports in Chicago. Micah has been featured in the New York Times, Glamour Magazine, Ebony, Good Housekeeping, and many other local and national publications. She commits her time to many civic organizations, as well as her sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, the Links Incorporated, and the National Association of Black Journalists. I first met Micah when she was an anchor at WJBK Channel 2 in Detroit, and I was a newswriter. She's since returned to her hometown of Chicago. I couldn't be more proud to introduce my friend who exemplifies grace and glamour, beauty and brilliance. Welcome, Micah Materre.
Wow, quite an introduction. Thank you, Elizabeth, my dear friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You've made my day.
Oh, well, I admire you so very, very much. And you serve as such a tremendous role model for so many people everywhere, Micah. And I'm just so proud to call you my friend.
Oh, and vice versa, right back at you for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, as you know, here on Boss Up Goddess, we talk about how we can empower each other by sharing our wisdom. And I know that you have 3 really important tips that you share, that you live by. Can you share those with us, Micah?
Of course, of course, of course. First of all, congratulations on the show. Congratulations on your new book coming up. And congratulations, just you being you. And thank you for having me on your show today. This really means a lot to me. But as you and I were talking, there are a lot of things that can lead to people's success. And it really depends on who you're talking to. I sat down and I just came up with a couple that are really near and dear to my heart that I really work on. One is always keep learning. Every single day when I sit on this news set or when I come to work, I learn something new every single day, believe it or not. And I think when you stop learning is when it's time to call it quits, retire, because every day I learn, oh, I didn't know this, or I didn't know that, or I decided I want to change the way I say this, or it didn't sound right doing that, or, just in general, learning news stories and things like that, but personally learning something new every day. And I think that that's something that we need to do. Never stop learning, never think you've finished and learned everything you can learn, and be humble when you're doing it. Another thing is never burn your bridges, because the same people you meet going up are the same people you're going to meet coming down. You never want to upset anybody and come back and say, oh, did I treat you differently? Just treat everyone with kindness and love. And so you won't have to think back and say, did we get along okay? That type of thing. If you have love in your heart all the time and try to treat people the same way, you never have to worry about that, And another thing we talked about is take constructive criticism with grace and gratitude. Criticism, especially in this business, you have so many critics on a daily basis. People who email you, people who go to social media. We deal with social media on a daily basis, and people who are sitting in their living rooms behind their computer, just saying whatever they want to whomever they want, however they want. And that's not the kind of criticism that you need. But people who love you and support you, who give you constructive criticism will say, maybe you shouldn't have said that way, or maybe you were too harsh in the way you did this, or maybe you could be a little bit, a little more stronger when you say this. That's coming from love. So that's constructive criticism. And that's the kind of criticism that you want. You don't want that other kind of criticism, which we get on a daily.
Oh, how do you deal with that?
It's not easy. It's like, I don't know if you've seen that Jimmy Fallon segment where they have celebrities read the mean tweets and then they respond to them. It's kind of like that. You get really mean things. I mean, before social media, we'd get it in the mail. I heard people say, you're too professional for that job. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay. And then people, they talk about the clothes you wear. They talk about how you wear your hair because we're a visual medium. Your dress, when I was pregnant, you know what? Just because you're pregnant, you shouldn't wear those colors. You can wear bright colors when you're pregnant. It's just not easy to find a lot of clothes when you're pregnant,
Right,
especially to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was hard. I mean, you get a little bit of everything. People have said the way you say 1920 or 2000. Now I say 2001. I don't say 2001 just because I didn't say 1920 when I said 1920, you know what I mean? So people tell you that. Everyone wants to say you're making too many mistakes or you're doing that. I'm like, I don't bother you when you're at your job, And it's not, everyone thinks that your job is easy. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not an easy job. And so sometimes maybe I have a bad day and maybe I do make some mistakes, but I'm not perfect. And I tell people, I've had people say, you made mistakes. I said, well, thank God that you're perfect and you don't make mistakes. But guess what? I'm fallible. I make mistakes. So I hope that you still watch us in spite of the fact that I said no instead of saying yes, or maybe the words weren't right. I mean, this is live TV and people go through flubs and dubs and, we make mistakes, but we're human. And if we were perfect, we'd be robots, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. So yes, it sometimes it's hard because they can hurt your feelings. And if it's a bad day, that's just what I needed today. Or sometimes you just let it roll off your back, which is the way to do it. Let it roll off your back and keep moving. So that's what you do.
Wow, Micah. So can you talk about how you balance everything? Because you have an amazing career that you've had for several decades of building up to become who you are and where you are today. And you're a mom, you're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a wife, you serve the community, you do all kinds of emceeing and things. So how do you balance all that?
It's not an easy thing to do. You thank God for the support that you have. You talked about my mother and my sister. I don't know how many times, and my husband, I don't know how many times I had to call on my mother or my sister to watch the kids when they were little. They're much older now. My daughter's 17 and my son is 20. Hard to believe.
Wow.
Old now too. I remember when he was born. But reach out to support people who can support you. And you just I live my life weirdly hour by hour. And I see what I can fit in that hour, what I can fit in that hour. And then hopefully there are a couple hours that we're free. During COVID, it has eased up a whole lot because we weren't emceeing, we weren't going out a lot of people weren't working, we continued to work the whole time, obviously, but I think COVID has made me sit back and realize what's really important and what isn't, and what I should do and what I don't have to do. We've learned that things aren't, a meeting, we don't have to have a meeting in person. We learned that. We don't have to go to school in person. We learned we can do that. We can say no to things. Some things aren't going to happen. There were so much lockdown and so many things to know that there's something a lot greater than you are. And that takes precedent, and you have to acquiesce to that thing that's greater than you. And trying to do everything, that's another thing. Realize you can't do absolutely everything because you'll go crazy. And you've got to take care of yourself too. Self-care is very important. And I didn't learn that until maybe 10 years ago, that self-care was so important. I didn't exercise. I didn't eat right. I didn't do a lot of these things until I realized when my kids were in elementary school, if I go down, everything breaks down. You're the CEO of your family. And if you break down, everything's going to break down. So I realized that it's okay to take an hour to exercise because it's good for your mind and your body. It's okay. And you should be eating right. You should be spending a little more organics because in the long run, it's going to be a lot more on the end medically if you don't spend up front. So I started eating right. I became gluten-free. I became dairy-free. Sometimes I kind of mess up a little bit. And I know you're a vegan, a vegetarian, and I did not give up red meat, but I eat it very seldom. And I tend to eat white meat, chicken or fish,
Mhm.
seafood. And so doing that makes you feel better, and doing it, taking time out to do exercise clears your mind, clears your body, clears everything. And
Mhm.
in the long run, you feel so much better. You don't even realize it. It
Mhm.
becomes a part of your life, like brushing your teeth. And I
Mm.
think you've got to do that to be good for your family, to be good brain-wise, to be good at work, and to feel good about yourself. So that's very important, I think, for women.
Mhm.
And they say, I don't have time. You have time. You had
Mhm.
you had an hour to watch a TV show. You had an hour to drive here. You certainly have time to
Mhm.
exercise. And an hour a day or hour 2 to 3 times a week, that's sufficient just to get, just to decompress.
Yes, and don't you feel that the time you do invest in that self-care enhances the rest of the 23 hours?
It totally does. I mean, by the end of the day, if I haven't worked out, I'm like, oh my God, I should have done that. Or my body doesn't feel right. Or your body rebels. Your body realizes you didn't get what you should get. So it rebels a lot of way in gaining weight. It rebels in a lot of
Mhm.
way of feeling icky, not feeling well physically. It
Mhm.
rebels in stress. Your stress levels are higher where they could have been, here, but they're here because you didn't take that time out to exercise and to think about yourself. And that's not being
Mhm.
selfish to think about yourself
Mhm.
in any way. It's actually being
Mhm.
selfless.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that so much. So, Micah, it is Women's History Month, and it's a historic year. We have your sorority sister, first woman of color to be
Right.
vice president, first woman to be vice president. What are your
Right.
thoughts on Kamala Harris?
Oh, I think it's fabulous that she's in there. I think it gives little girls a chance to see, just like when Barack Obama became president, I
Yes.
can be that. If you see it, you can be it.
Mhm.
And I think letting a strong Black woman go up there and be vice president and to assist the president the way she does and to
Mhm.
represent the way she does, because we know that our and I hate the word minority, but our people of color will be recognized. She will make sure of that. And I
Mhm.
think that's so important, especially now.
Mhm.
With the way things in society have changed. I shouldn't say they've changed, they remain the same, but they're more recognized. The band-aid has been, ripped off, and we're able
Mhm.
to see a lot of things that we didn't see before. We knew it, but people who are not of color didn't know it.
Mhm.
You had the Meghan Markle interview with Harry a couple of
Mhm.
weeks ago, where
Mhm.
Harry said, I didn't realize there was so much racism. Well, he
Mhm.
didn't realize it because he never walked in
Right.
a person of color's shoes. But now
Right.
he's got a son who's a person of color, a wife who's a person of color. So now it affects him. But these
Mhm.
are things that have always been there. But
Mhm.
I think having Kamala Harris there will bring more recognition to it. And she can bend the president's ear to let him know, hey, this has to be done or that has to be done. This has to be included. I mean, his cabinet is very diverse. And right
Mhm.
there, I think a lot of that had to do with Kamala Harris's influence.
Mhm. Mhm. What do you think is our role as individual Americans, regardless of our race,
I
to
think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, please, no, just to make be the change, to make the
We,
change.
I think our role is a big role, and we mustn't ignore what's going on around us. We have got to every single day when we get up say, I'm going to do something that will change. It may be a small something. It may be a vote. People say, my vote won't count. Well, if everyone says that, your vote's not going to count, but my vote will count, his vote will count, and it may be just that one vote that makes a difference. Be nice to someone. You don't know what kind of a day that person's having. That may make that person's day and give them the confidence to move forward and be successful. So you have to every day say, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to be nice to this person today. I'm going to make a call today, or I'm going to send a note today, or I'm going to vote today.
Mhm.
There's so many positive things that every individual can do that will amount to a huge positivity. And people don't realize
Mhm.
that because everybody matters. Every
Mhm.
single person matters. And I think it's up to you to make make the person you come in contact matter. I'm not
Mhm.
saying do it a big, huge thing, but something like you go through the line in Starbucks and you pay for the person behind you their
Mhm.
coffee. I've done that
Mhm.
before. Or you see someone on the street who needs help, you help them up. Or I've
Mhm.
been at a grocery store and someone slipped down. I help them get up. I've even given people rides who look like they can't make it, an older person a
Oh.
ride, and you make it. And this is just something I think every human being should do. This is
Mhm.
something that I should
Yes.
be applauded for. But
Yes.
these are just little things that you can
Mhm.
do that will make
Mhm.
a difference in the world.
Absolutely, yes. So, my mission with this show, Boss Up Goddess, which is inspired by my book, Boss Up Goddess, is to encourage women to learn things that I've learned that have gotten me through very difficult things. And I really feel it's our obligation as women leaders who've accomplished certain things to share, to teach all that we know. Do you agree, Micah, that we all serve as teachers on a daily basis?
Definitely, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I say that all the time. So I try to give as much as I can and try to teach and mentor as much as I can, because we needed it when we were younger and we had mentors and people who helped us. So let's give back. Let's do the same thing. Let's pay it forward and do the same thing that was done for us, because that wouldn't be right if we didn't give back. Because we wouldn't be here without the people in our lives, the supporters, the mentors, and the people, the teachers. There's so many teachers who did so much for us. And it may not have been a huge thing, but just a little thing like that. One day, I still remember this particular teacher maybe doing something, and that got me on this path, So, oh my God, we do have an obligation. To whom much is given, much is expected.
And as the mother of a teenage daughter, can you talk about what kind of world you see your daughter inheriting as a woman and what she's embarking on? Because when Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, there was this tremendous outpouring of love from every generation of women, from girls to teens to all ages.
Yeah.
And her story just showed how recently things were very different for women in America.
Yeah.
So can you talk about how your daughter is stepping into this whole new world and what still remains to change?
Well, my daughter is a boss. She's 17 years old. Oh, she really is. She's 17 years old. She's wise beyond her years. She tells me things and I'm like, how do you know this? And who told you this? And, she's an activist to a certain extent. She knows that, male and females are on the same level. And if they're not, she's going to make sure that they are. She is very kind-hearted, making sure that people get the same opportunities that she does. And she does things like that. And I don't know if I was like that when I was her age. I was so busy worried about this and worried about that, and self-involved with, looking a certain way or being thin or things like that. And she doesn't really do that. She is more active. I mean, I think she might be going to Tulane. And one of the reasons why she is going to Tulane, because of the diversity at Tulane.
Okay.
She, really is diverse in everything that she does. She's into inclusivity. She includes everybody into things. And I always tell her, never hurt anybody's feelings who loves you. And, the things you tell your kids when they're little, you don't know if it's sinking in. But then you see them, you're like, whoa, maybe it did sink in. Don't say anything, and you let them go their way. So she's very, very independent. And I'm not afraid for her to leave. I mean, I'm afraid for me because I'm going to die. I'm not going to be able to take it. My son's already gone, so have two of them.
Oh, wow.
But I think as far as her being independent and handling things on her own, my husband and I always say she's got it together. We don't have to worry about her in any way, shape, or form, because she is a boss. She totally.
I love that so
she's
much.
So, wise beyond her years. How she did that.
And that's amazing. That's a tribute to you and your whole family. Yes.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yes. And I absolutely love your wonderful husband, Kelvin. And teamwork truly does make the dream work. And your two successful growing up children are examples of that. And so
I agree. I think, having a strong husband and a husband who doesn't mind the woman to be strong as well, I think that that's phenomenal. He allows me to be who I am. He allows me to, move forward with my career to the best of my ability. And he encourages me as I encourage him in his career. And I think a lot of that has to do with self-esteem, self-awareness as far as the man is concerned. I want to get to the point where all men understand that everyone's created equally, men and women. And there's not a job for a woman and not a job for a man. There's a job for both.
wow.
He holds up the end at home without a problem. He's always there. Like I said, my support system, he's always there. He's, when I'm not there, he's there for the children. And he's always been a part of that. And I know that I don't have to worry about it because he's holding up his end as I'm holding up my end. And I think that's so important because you see so many women who are with men where that doesn't happen, and you feel, there are times I feel like, for instance, I need to cook dinner every day. because I hate the fact that they order out or whatever. But there are times I just can't cook dinner every day because I'm gone in the morning as well as the evening. He says, look, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. We'll make sure we eat, So there are so many traditional jobs that have been women and men, female and male jobs. But I think if you find someone who realizes, let's throw those traditions out the window and let's make our own normal. Let's make our own family, normal. And, I may cook or he may cook, or he may wash or I may wash. So it's whoever can do it whenever they can. I mean, we never laid out jobs of who does this. It just kind of fell into place.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful
I'm not saying
example.
It's fabulous all the time. But it's a work in progress. You're always working on relationships, with your children, with your husband, with your family. It's a work in progress.
So Micah, my mother always says it's so important for a boss woman to select a mate who is exactly like you described your husband. And she became a judge because our father was very supportive and helpful and, hands-on around the house. So can you talk to any women, especially young women who are watching and looking for a mate, what traits they should seek, especially if they want to have a strong, robust career?
Well, first of all, I think you should find someone who's not intimidated by you or by your ambitions and what you want to do. And I think that's easy to find out when you meet them. I mean, you sit down and you have a conversation with them. You can learn in 2 or 3 minutes if they're the type of guy who's for you. And don't be discouraged because you can't find anybody, because there's somebody out there. As my mother always says, there's somebody for everyone. A lot of people may not believe that, but there's somebody for everyone. And you can't look for the perfect guy, because there's no such thing as perfect, because you're not perfect. So don't think that, I'm going to buy this guy, because neither one of you are perfect. So you have to find somebody who believes in your ambitions and supports you, and you believe in their ambitions and support them. And if you're a strong woman, make sure you find a man who can handle that strength, because that could be a problem. I mean, you see a lot of women in Hollywood who marry men who get intimidated or jealous of their mate's success. But you can't do that. You have to find someone who is equal to you in that, for sure. And applauds your success as much as you applaud his success, and you work cohesively in that way. But I think, like I said, a woman, it takes 5 minutes to talk to a guy to see if that's the kind of guy you want. I mean, for instance, I kept my last name because I was born with it. I say I was born with it, I'm going to die with it, regardless of what position, what career I was going to choose. And I remember my husband's sister asked me, well, what's wrong with his name? I said, what's wrong with my name? I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with his name. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with my name. And I don't think I have to take his name. I was born with it. I want to die with it. And my children have my last name is their middle name, and their last name for his last name,
Oh, wow.
I just don't think women have to take a man's last name to still be bonded and still be with them. So I'll always have, my sister kept her last name as well. And my husband had absolutely no problem with it. But I've met men who say, I would never marry a woman who wouldn't take my last name. I said, well, we'd never get married, because it's to me, that's trivial. That's not like a deal breaker in any way, shape, or form. I was born with this name. I'm going to die with this name. And women who want to take their husband's name, do it. It's your normal. It's what you want to do. And I don't shame anybody or judge anybody for doing what they want to do. That's, you shouldn't judge people for wanting to be themselves or wanting to live the life that they want to live or have the relationship that they want to have. And you just can't, because we've been caught up in so many social norms throughout the years on this is the way it's supposed to be. It's never that way anyway. And we find ourselves trying to compete with that, try to live up to those social norms. And when we stop trying to do that, life will get so much better.
Yes, that is so true. That's exactly the mission here on my show, that we have to find our true, authentic self, and then the courage to be her.
Yes, exactly. The courage to be her, and don't care what anybody says about it.
Right.
It matters to you, and it matters to your husband. It matters to your family. That's all that matters.
So Micah, for the women who are watching and want to pursue a career and really excel and rise to the top as you've done, What are your words of wisdom regarding maintaining integrity and a personal code of conduct to make certain that your reputation professionally and personally is stellar?
Well, that's the thing. You have to maintain your integrity no matter what. You have to be true to yourself no matter what. Know what you want to do and say you're going to do it no matter what. Stick with it. I know so many people who wanted to go into what I wanted to do or wanted to do something else and didn't stick with it for whatever reason. But you have to be voracious and passionate about what you want to do, because believe me, there are tons of hurdles that you're going to, have to jump or push through. Keep at it. Keep at it regardless. You may find a mate who doesn't want to go through with it, through it with you. Boom, that's a hurdle. Keep going until you have reached what you want to do. I had a goal of my career. I changed it a little bit. I wanted to be national by the time I was in my 30s, I think. Well, things change a little bit, but I still am in the third market. And I think that I'm pretty successful in what I do. And a lot of it I owe to the people who've helped me along the way. And I think you have to stay true to yourself, because you're the person you live with. Live with yourself, if you don't, stick with the morals that you grew up with, stick with the integrity that that you're about and what you believe in. You can't shirk those things. You can't, move on and say, oh, I'm not going to do that. But you have to, and you have to hope that you don't make a lot of regrets along the way.
Ooh.
Because those can really come to bite you. And I say, I don't want to regret this. I know I'd regret it. And I'm not a big risk taker, but a lot of people are, and that's fine. That's fine. I wasn't a risk taker before I had kids and got married, and I'm not a risk taker now. I mean, if you're going to take risks, do it when you're by yourself, before you have
right.
risks. But I lived in Iowa for this business. I lived in Detroit for 8 years, and then I've been home now for 22 years.
Wow.
But I probably could not have done all that if I didn't stay true to myself, knowing that kept my eyes on the prize, for lack of a better way to say it.
Yes.
Oh, this is where I want to get, and this is what I have to go through to get there. And I knew that I didn't want to get married at first because I didn't want to have to burden someone with having to move because of it. As it was, eventually my husband did have to move, but he was able to get a job here as well. But it's very difficult, especially in a job like ours, that you tend to have to move. But try to set your sights on something that is attainable and that you want to do, and don't let anybody stop you from getting there. There are a lot of naysayers. There are a lot of naysayers for whatever reason, jealousy or hate, or they just don't believe in you. But you've got to believe in yourself. And it sounds corny, but if you don't believe in you, who's going to? And you have to, be serious as to what you want to do and continue along the way, continue with that. No matter what knocks you down, get back up, because without failure, there's no success.
Ooh. Ooh, yes. Tenacity is so important.
It is.
Well, Micah, what's your top quality you think that got you to where you are?
Oh gosh, Elizabeth, I don't know. I'm not good at talking about myself, although I've done it for 30 minutes. But, what's my top quality? Maybe it is tenacity. Maybe it is. Keep going regardless of what happens and what you come up against. No, okay, that's fine. That'll just stop me for a second. But finding my first job in TV took forever. It took forever, and now it seems like it was 20, well, it was more than 25 because I started in radio. So it's over 30 years. But when you look back on it and say, yeah, but you just keep going. You keep going, you can't eat, you can't do a lot of things because you don't have any money, but you get, you keep going. And like the support system, I had parents who believed in anything I wanted to do. I was told, you're going to graduate college, you're going to go to college. It wasn't if, it was where you're going to go. And regardless, you're going to go there. And a lot of people out there may say, well, I don't have the money in this. There are ways to make things happen. There are scholarships, there are financial aid. If that's what you want to do, if you want to do something, you can do it. You really can.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Exclamation point.
Mic drop. Elizabeth, this has been such a pleasure. And the 30 minutes went by like that. My
I
God.
know, Micah, you're amazing. I admire
Sure.
you so very much, and I'm so happy for your success, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, and I wish you all the best. And come on my show next.
Okay, I will.
Hi to the
Thank you.
family. Love you.
Okay, love you too,
Bye-bye.
Micah. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Thank you. And thank you, all of you, for joining me tonight with Micah Materre, a trailblazing woman who just shared her wisdom to help us all live bigger, better, and bolder. Please do like, share, subscribe, and comment. I'd love to hear any questions or comments that you had about the interview with Micah Materre tonight. And remember, boss up, goddess. You have the power. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I'll see you next time.